shouted, "This is MAGA country," beat him up. Since then, a lot of things have happened. It's come out that the Chicago PD said that he lied and he staged this attack with 2 Nigerian brothers. So what are your thoughts on that? Anybody want to go first?
My first thought is, are one of the Nigerian brothers single? And
was he fine?
Both of them was fine.
Pretty attractive. Okay.
One was fine.
And $3,500 richer. So. Go ahead, Latasha.
Really, a lot of facts have come out, and we can't quite pinpoint what happened between the sandwich and him going home. We really have no idea. The story just keeps changing and changing, and I really couldn't quite.
The story changed once from the guy lied, and then we found out he lied. That's the changes.
Quite form an opinion so early because
Early, it's late. By the way, green clashes with purple.
the facts kept changing. Like, it wasn't bleach. He didn't have a noose. He bought the noose.
Yes, those are the lies.
The check that he gave the Nigerian brothers for $3,500 was to it was really for physical training so he could
No, that's the lie.
prepare for a movie role. Did he know them? Did they beat him up? So I'm still kind of confused on all of that.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
So I think I immediately said
Oh shit, mulatto alert.
there was something wrong
That looks like a Jew in a black, doesn't it?
with the story. It just didn't sound believable, right?
Yeah, because whites don't just attack blacks for no fucking reason in the middle of Chicago.
And
What
then,
about it wasn't believable for you?
The white part.
personally, what was
The white part. Say the white part, mulatto. Say the white part.
not believable to me was 2 MAGA hat wearing
That's code for white. Why don't you say the word white?
dudes that randomly recognized this guy on Empire.
Right, they don't watch Empire.
And at 2 a.m. in Chicago.
Look, I am a red-blooded American, straight white male. I have never seen a single second of Empire. It's not marketed to me. It doesn't show up on my timeline. I have no idea. I don't talk about it. My friends don't talk about it. It ain't part of my life.
In the freezing cold. And then said, I just want to attack you because of that. I know wild shit happens, right? But this was like, wow. So the first thing that I did was I was like, this is a little weird. But then we saw his face, right? And he got beat up.
happened,
I said, yo, he got beat up. Like, that's terrible. Whoever beat him up needs to be charged. But I don't think the story went the way that it went. And again, like Latasha said, we don't know what happened. But immediately, I don't know, me personally, I was attacked.
Go ahead,
Like,
Corey.
you are just homophobic and you just don't like gay people. Boom. That was told to me often.
On the internet?
Oh, yeah.
Go-
On the internet, right.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I did.
I think like we should
Yo,
full
he
stop
got beat up.
at we don't know what happened. Problem with social media culture is like you get one piece of information and everybody runs with it, right? A lie gets around the world faster than the truth has time to tie its shoes up, right? And so we don't know what happened, and all of this stipulation back and forth as to this didn't sound right, this didn't feel right, like the conversations about people being homophobic because they express concern or doubt, right? I heard that, but I've had to live at the intersection of racism and homophobia my entire life. And so for me, there was nothing about the situation.
They snap at that? This guy's double victims, man. He got twice the victimhood.
Especially being from Chicago and knowing white people in Chicago that seemed out of the ordinary or a situation that couldn't happen. That was the first thing that came to me. Now, as we get further along the line, when it relates to CPD, you know, we can come back to that.
We'll come back to that. Yeah, go
we
ahead,
can come back to
Balar.
that
We just
later.
want initial thoughts. Go ahead, Balar.
Initially, to Doug's point, and Corey even, I think at the end of the day, we don't know what happened. But me personally, when I heard about it, I honestly didn't care. Like, I didn't even care. I was
didn't
like,
care?
nah. Because something in my mind was just telling me, like, if I'm a detective and I'm African American. I've never seen him a day in my life. I now know of him only because this happened. So you mean to tell me two white people watch Empire, know who he is, know he's gay, his whereabouts, and went to go get him with bleach and a noose?
So you're saying you didn't care because you didn't think it was true, or
Nah.
you just didn't care?
I didn't care because I didn't think it was true. I'm like, not two white people. If they watch Empire, they probably not racist. Chances are they probably like the
Exactly. How could you be a fan of Empire? What do you hate? Watch Empire? That's a great point.
culture a little bit. You know what I mean? For them, I'm going far.
That room does not want to hear white people are not racist. It's not the message.
I'm saying if you're watching the show, you're not watching it to find someone you're going to assault. You know what I mean? You're not watching
Let
it
her
to look
finish.
for people to assault. Is what I'm trying to say. And then again, I can also step back and be like, isn't chance that it's true? Because Nigerians are good at scheming. They could have schemed this whole thing. Maybe he was attacked by white people. That it was me. I did it. For the $35,000.
YouTube on our
Okay,
No,
so
I'm trying to say you gotta look at it from all angles because some people are saying at the end of the day we don't know, was he actually attacked by two Caucasian men? That would mean that these Nigerian men are lying. They are in on it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
If he didn't hire them to do it.
go ahead, George.
I don't know. I just find it interesting, like how everybody's like, "Oh, the story's not believable," right? And it's like, I guess, like trauma against Black people has always been fantastical
Is he gay? I'm not sure.
in this country, right? And so it's like, if Martin Luther King walked in and was like, "Hey, I think
Talking about Jesse Smollett, he goes to Martin Luther King. That shows you how their minds work, where they're ready to go. It's like you bring up race with white people, people talk about the KKK like the next second.
the CIA is trying to get me to commit suicide," everybody at the table would be like, "That sounds crazy as hell," right?
But it's true.
If the men from Tuskegee were like, "Hey, I think they're giving us placebos and aren't giving us the actual treatment," everybody at the table would be like, "Y'all are crazy. Like these people are trying to treat you, right?" So I just always believe victims, period, because the opposite of that is way more harmful than if you just believe victims initially.
Why is it binary?
And two, I just want us to always remember, like, our trauma doesn't happen in a vacuum. So you have to be able to connect the dots anytime anything like that seems like, wow, that just sounds so outrageous that it can't be believable. I mean, think about how our existence in this country started.
Oh,
That's
So, but-
outrageous.
so-
and
So now that all of the news
totally slavery. So Jesse Smollett could have happened because slavery. Interesting take. Making video. How long will it be? Potentially very long. All right.
To be not guilty. Guilty.
Let's all celebrate and have a good time.
To be not guilty.
Let's all celebrate and have a good time. Celebration. We gon' celebrate and have a good time.
You're on a different road. I'm in the Milky Way. You are.
and have a good time. Celebration. We gon' celebrate and have a good time.
You're on a different road. I'm in the Milky Way. You are down on Earth.
Good time.
You're on a different road.
Good time.
You're on a different road. We gotta kill this switch. You're from the 70s, but I'm a 90s bitch. I love it.
Why do we celebrate good times? Come on. Why? Well, the reason is because justice was served. Or not. Do you think they could possibly race vulture a story where a white kills a black?
Okay, so now that brings us to Terrance Crutcher. A lot of you might have seen this story before too. He's a middle-aged African-American guy in the middle of the road, his hands clearly up. We're gonna show you the video. Now, after the video, we'll give you the details, and you're gonna be shocked to find out the cop got away with it again. But here's the video first.
Facing westbound.
Always being there. It's Jan, Nikki 6. James Hetfield is sitting in with us tonight. Speaking of like pleasing your fans and always being their band, do you find it really hard?
Which way are they facing?
Now?
They're facing westbound. I think he may have. They facing.
Now? Being their band. It's Jan, Nikki 6. James Hetfield is sitting in with us tonight. Speaking of like pleasing your fans and always being their band, do you find it really hard?
Which way are they facing?
Now?
They're facing westbound. I think he may have just been tasered. Shots fired! At 321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down.
So some folks are blocking their way there. There's helicopter video that shows it even more clearly. But you hear he tasered, suspect's been tasered. You saw his hands up almost the entire time.
Okay, so before we listen to Jenk's ridiculous rant about this, sorry, Keek, let me get serious for a second and say the obligatory and obvious. This was unfortunate. It didn't need to happen. It wasn't handled well. It wasn't handled perfectly. And it's very unfortunate because the second that she shot him, by the way, he had refused to comply with any of her orders. She was screaming at him to stop. get on your knees, show me your hands, get your hands out of your pockets, stop. And then he just wanders to his car and reaches into the backseat of his car. Like, he was an idiot. Or, sorry, it wasn't even that he was an idiot. It was that he was on drugs. He's an idiot for doing drugs, but he was most definitely acting like an idiot. So he was acting in a way that was detrimental to his survival. And if you fuck around in the middle of a street and ignore police orders, you're going to be seen as a threat. And any shit you get up to will rightfully be considered sketchy. And they have every right to assume the worst from you. So again, all of this could have been solved if he had complied with police orders. Once again, the reason his car was parked in the middle of a 2-lane highway was for no reason. His car was running. He was loaded up on PCP. He was a drug addict. And he got out of his car and was wandering around. And he was acting like a zombie. So when he reached into his car, not only did the woman feel threatened and feel the need to shoot, the guy next to her, the cop next to her, shot his taser. Now, she should have had her taser out first. Because if you tase this dude, the situation's going to be resolved. He's not going to have retard strength. He's not going to pull a Rodney King and start fighting back. He seemed like he was going to go down. Tase him, at least tase him first. You know, like, I believe there's a order of force that they're trained to sort of escalate with. She felt threatened, though, and her temperament, you know, I've seen her in interviews. I saw her interview with the cops. She's really emotional. And I'm not saying all women are like this, but I don't think she had the temperament to be a cop. High stress situation, and she's freaking out. And at the moment she shot him, she's hiding behind the car, and she has 3 other officers with her, not to mention a police helicopter hovering above. So the situation could have been handled way better. But in terms of her going down for manslaughter, that's a pretty hefty ask. And it failed because it wasn't manslaughter, because she did have a justifiable right to squeeze off. It sounds perverted. But listen to Genk try to be fake outraged about this. It's just wild. Watch.
Fucking unbelievable.
Have come out, do you still believe Jesse, or do you think that there's something else going on?
One, what I do know is I will not believe the Chicago Police Department. So regardless of anything
Thank
else,
you.
right? And 2, even if Jesse's story doesn't pan out, because I am black and queer, I know that Jesse's story is my story every day. I know that every day that story happens to someone else.
What? You fake hate crimes every day of your life? What?
And I also know that it's very interesting that it only took Chicago PD 20 days to do a full investigation and took them 25 years to indict R. Kelly. So
What? Wait, I'm lost track of the racism here. First of all, the Chicago PD is mostly black. So it's run by blacks. And the dudes that were investigating this were black. And then R. Kelly is black, so you're saying what, they're racist? They're not racist to R. Kelly? I don't understand. What does R. Kelly have to do with this? Get your shit together, you black queer.
And this was also a few weeks after they had just covered up a murder, right? So, like, what we can't do is, like, pretend like something else isn't going on in that Chicago PD. Something else is going on, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
No, I have to go to different people. Go ahead, Huey.
I agree. I would agree with what you're saying. I think kind of there's something else going on now. The media and the society, they've taken it, and you know, Jussie Smollett being black, then also being a black gay male, kind of what's happening. It's like, okay, so one, you took 2 of the most disenfranchised people in this country, black males and then black gay males, and now you're gonna try to say, almost try and create this era where it's like, oh well, yeah, well if he made this up, maybe the rest of these black guys and the other the gay males are just making up the things they're going through. And I feel like, I'm like, well, there were other things going on at that time that you guys could have gave equal media coverage to. This is something very small and very petty. But also one of the things, God has a weird way of doing things. And one of the things Jussie Smollett did do, he exposed the CPD. Because not only did you guys do domestic research to solve this case, but you guys also did international bounty hunting. You guys tracked 2 Nigerians in Nigeria, waited for them to get back to solve this petty case, but then you got murders and all sorts of things, and rapes and assaults and R. Kelly situations happening in your backyard. In
Nigeria?
In Chicago, but you guys guys can do international bounty hunting on 2 Nigerians in Nigeria.
That's what I mean. They found them.
They found them in Nigeria. They tracked them in Nigeria, and they knew when they were coming back, and they were there at the airport to pick them up. Yeah. So I'm like, well, you guys obviously have resources to solve some of these other problems.
What the fuck are you babbling about? Yeah, they picked up dudes at the airport. What's your point? The fuck are you saying?
His hands were not up. Why are you lying, you pig-faced fuck?
And then you hear shots fired. So are you fired? And then you hear shots fired. And then you hear shots fired. So, are you supposed to reach into the car to get your ID, or are you not supposed to reach into the car to get the ID?
Almost the entire time. Oh, well, when were they? Chink! Sorry, Chink! Keek! Kiki Vandaway! Kiki! Keek! What are you talking about with reaching into his car for an ID? Nobody talked about that. You just invented that. Have you read anything about this story? Have you heard what the cops said happened? I mean, at no point did she say, go to your car and get your ID. Huh? Clearly that's not what happened. And Keek's trying to talk about, should I reach in for my car for my ID? Should I not? What do you want me to do? Do what she said, which is get on your knees. I wish women did that. They never do it when I say it. Never do it when I say it.
Are you supposed to have your hands up, hands down? And then
hands up, Keek. Hands up. His hands were not up, so it's not confusing. I like how he's playing down. Is this not demeaning to blacks? Would he do this for other people? Turkish people? White people? Would he pretend like we don't know what the cop's asking for? Hands up, hands down. Right hand up, left hand down. What are we doing here? Playing a game of Twister? Reminds me of the scene from A Fish Called Wanda with Kevin Kline and John Cleese. And John Cleese's character pulls a gun on Kevin Kline. But Kevin Kline doesn't think John Cleese has the balls to shoot him. So he disrespects him and he doesn't accept his commands. And he goes, put your hands up. And he goes, which hand? Which hand do you want? The left, the right? Watch. The left, the right. Watch.
Okay, don't get excited. Okay. Oh, it's you. I was actually worried there for a minute.
They do, yeah.
So,
yeah, but I think the spotlight was on them to solve this case, was it not?
I mean, the spotlight's been on Rahm Emanuel in the city. I mean, when you got 75%
profile.
of your murders go unsolved, you got 68% of your rapes and assaults going unsolved. You got all these other problems in Chicago. Chicago is always in the spotlight. So,
Go ahead, Donovan.
I was gonna say that actually, when I first heard the story, there wasn't anything that I didn't necessarily not believe. To a lot of people's point about, being a gay black man, like whatever, dude. Like I've experienced walking down the block and being harassed for less for like my pants. So, so I don't find it hard to believe. I walked on the street and been called a nigga by white people who are homeless. Privilege looks crazy in many different ways. So I didn't necessarily find it far-fetched, but I did believe when I started hearing what was coming down the pipeline around the way that it was perfectly executed in terms of the bleach and the rope and the blah, 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 seeing the...
you hear shots fired. So, are you supposed to reach into Are you supposed to? So, are you supposed to reach into the car to get your ID, or are you not supposed to reach into the car to get the ID? Are you supposed to have your hands up, hands down? And there's no winning. There's no winning.
Yes, there is winning. Winning is not taking PCP, not parking your car in the middle of a highway. Winning is also keeping your hands out of your pockets when talking to a police officer, and also responding to the cop like a normal human being. And when they tell you to sit down or get on your knees, how about trying this one? Get on your knees. And when you start wandering over to your car to reach for something in the back seat, and they're screaming at you to stop doing that, why not try stopping? I believe that would be a winning scenario.
And in the helicopter video, you see his hands are up, 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 up. It doesn't.
No, they are not up, up, up.
Up, up. It doesn't matter. He gets shot anyway.
No, they are not up, up, up.
What to do? Feeling hot, hot, hot.
They are not up, up, up.
Feeling hot, hot, hot. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
No, they are not up, up, up. No, they are not up, up, up. You think a dude tasered him and a woman shot him at the same time? Why? I mean, this is so stupid. Do you realize the stupidity? Do you seriously think that they just shot a guy with his hands up? I mean, what the fuck? Why don't you, just for the sake of it, play the other side of the story? Why don't you listen to what they say happened? Because they were there, and this is what happened. We have multiple eyewitnesses. Every story corroborates this. From the people in the helicopter to the 4 cops who were there. But let us listen to Betty Shelby describe to you what happened, because they released the interview she did with cops after this event. It's highly dramatic. I want you to watch it with me.
And he goes like this, and he puts his fingers into his pocket. I said, man, take your hands out of your pocket now. I'm starting to cover my gun at this time. And he just looks at me, and he turns to his right, where he's parallel with the not complying, or he's not taking his hands out of his pocket. I said something like that. I don't remember exact words that I said, but north, parallel with the bumper of my car, and I'm in ready gun. It's meant, stop. Show me your hands. I'm in ready gun. It's meant, stop. Show me your hands. Show me your hands now. Show me your hands. Show me your hands now. He puts both of his hands in the air.
And did he wave them like he just didn't care?
And his hands in the air.
And did he wave them like he just didn't care?
And he stops. He makes a half turn to his left. Now he's facing west at the back bumper. Passenger side of my car. He's got his hands like this and he just looks at me. And it's like this. So, man, stop right there. You stay right there. And I'm walking my angling, I should say.
You went fishing?
To where
Totally inappropriate.
the bumper of the car there, he's right here facing to the west, and I positioned probably right about there, and I positioned probably right about there, and I'm thinking, myself. He is very big. His behavior is not right. He is very big.
Totally inappropriate. So black.
His behavior is not right. Something is not right here. So, okay. He's intoxicated. He is not obeying my commands. I'm thinking he's got a weapon in his pocket.
Welcome to America. That threat is always around. You have to be worried about it. That's just the reality of the situation. Now, when she said he wasn't acting right and stuff like that, I mean, whether it's intoxicated or not, it wasn't at night. It was in the middle of the day, which is, I guess, more rare just to be drunk in the middle of the day, but it does happen. But if you could have deciphered that he's on drugs, tase that fool. Just tase him. Because him ignoring your commands is not really an exhibition of direct disobedience. It's more the fact that he's just high as a kite, doesn't know what the fuck is going on. So you tase him and then contain him. So her decision to pull the gun and not the taser first is really the tragedy of this whole thing.
Because that's my immediate thought, is he's going to his pocket. And I've told him several times, don't put your hands, or take your hands out of your pockets and show me your hands. And so
I'm just going to throw this out there. I think I'd do her. Betty? From Tulsa? Look at that. hourglass body, like mom bod, I'm leaning towards I'd do her. With consent. With consent.
So I tell him, get on your knees. Get on your knees now. And he's not doing it. So man, get on your knees. Get on your knees now. Doing it. So man, get on your knees. Get on your knees now.
Oh, you didn't say go to your car and get your ID?
And then he just looks at his vehicle. His hands are up. And he starts taking steps to the front of my vehicle. His hand drops to his pocket. Man, get your hands up in the air! Get them up in the air! And so he gets them back up. Man, get your hands up in the air! Get them up in the air! And so he gets them back up in the air, and he's at the front of my car.
Oh, you didn't say powerful reenactment. Speak Wakanda.
And I tell him, stop! And so and I tell him, stop! And so he stops and he stops and he still has his hands. But he's positioned his body to where he's facing his SUV. And he just stands there and he's mumbling. This whole time he's saying something, but I can't understand him because it's very, very low.
it's because you don't speak Wakandan. Stop being racist.
Is when they're not using a stick.
It's because you don't speak Wakandan. Stop being racist.
And it's just unintelligible. He's not doing anything. He's not stopping.
Was it the sound of the police?
And so he's standing there. He looks at his vehicle. He looks back at me. And I can hear there's a siren coming.
Police?
Siren coming.
Was it the sound of the police?
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police.
And I can hear there's a siren coming.
Granddaughter, and it says, JoJo, that lady killed my daddy. And in response to that, I told her God is still in control. And you remember that. I have 4 grandchildren that are at home now that has lost their dad.
Blood, when you hear them sirens come in. I can hear them sirens come in. Better run when you hear them sirens come in. I can hear them sirens come in. 1 to the 2 to the 3 to the 4. Line mass police knocking at my door. 12 black boots on my bedroom floor. What they were in law school, I'm not sure. Took me to the station. Blood,
Siren coming.
blood, when you hear them sirens come in.
Siren coming.
Blood, when you hear them sirens come in. I can hear them sirens come in. Better run when you hear them sirens come in. I can hear them sirens come in.
And so he's been looking at me. And then I could see him look beyond me. And that he just starts walking toward his vehicle.
Is it the sound of the police? Look at the dimensions of this interrogation room. I think they do that intentionally. That is a very grim room. Look at the color of that chair. Just pea green.
Vehicle. And I said, stop! Stop right. And I'm following because I don't want to. And I said, stop! Stop right now! You need to stop! And I'm following because I don't want to lose visual on him. Because I don't know if he has a gun. I'm scared that he's got a gun in his pocket.
Yeah, but what were you really telling him to do?
And I'm following because I don't want to lose visual. A gun. I'm scared that he's got a gun in his pocket.
You're walking behind him. You see his hands up, and he is not stopping.
He is not stopping. I've told him over. Stop! 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 Stop!
And scene. And scene. And scene.
He goes on around his vehicle, and he goes to the driver's side. He goes on around his vehicle, and he goes to the driver's side. He goes on around his vehicle, and he goes to the driver's side. I've come around. He drops his arm, and he goes, and I said, stop! And he goes, and I said, stop! 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 He didn't stop. He didn't stop. I thought he was going for a gun. And I took a target. And I shot him in the side. In the chest.
Okay. Take a minute.
I'm convinced, acquitted. I mean, look at that. Falls to her knees in sorrow, trying to cope with the trauma of this incident. The guy wouldn't obey her commands. He posed a threat. She did what she felt she needed to do to defend her life. You can criticize her all you want. It's not manslaughter.
I thought he was gonna kill
Here, Betty, come up here and let's wipe your eyes. And you can get something to drink, okay? Wipe your eyes. And you can get something to drink, okay? Get something to look better than.
I've never been so scared. I've never been so scared.
Let's take a break while he's going, okay?
I'm convinced. And it's most definitely not racism. And it's most definitely not racism, which is the whole reason we're even talking about it.
So
Any other
I've never been so scared.
and it's most definitely not racism, which is the whole reason we're even talking about it. Any other combination of races, in this case, nobody ever hears of this. And you know that. Well, I think she had some air trapped in there. It happens. It does happen. Anyway, Gank, what were you saying about this being a racist, horrible thing? Go ahead. So anyway, Gank, what were you saying about this being a racist, horrible thing? Go ahead.
So let me go to New York Times for a description of what happened in this case. Betty Shelby, who worked for the Tulsa Police Department at the time, says she shot Terrance Crutcher in September of 2016 in self-defense because she thought he was reaching into his car for what might have been a weapon. Video of the episode showed Crutcher holding his hands above his head when he was shot.
That's a fucking lie. I mean, how many? We have the footage. Are you that dumb? The New York Times, whoever wrote that, is blatantly lying. And Gank repeats this lie? So these people are really going to die on the hill of Terrance Crutcher was holding his hands up? Does anybody believe that? Nobody says that's what happened. Nobody. The whole point is that he wasn't holding his hands up. Fucking hell. Hell.
At the time he was shot, okay? The Justice Department said that it had found insufficient evidence to prove that her use of force against Crutcher was, quote, objectively unreasonable under the definitions set by the United States.
It means objectively unreasonable. And so what, now the Justice Department, they're part of the problem? Are they the systemic system? I guess you got to just widen out your scope of condemnation now, huh? Because no, it wasn't just the cop was a racist. Now the judge is a racist, and the jury is racist, and the Justice Department is racist. The whole country,
States Supreme Court. So there's two different layers to this case. One was at the local level, and she was acquitted.
Yeah, that was the defense. Right.
Acquitted. Acquitted.
It's a celebration.
I mean, look, it's a black guy. I mean, it's, of course, what are we gonna do? Put you in jail for shooting an unarmed black guy whose hands were up?
Oh, the bombastic son of a bitch. He should be fucking drawn and quartered. Guy should be in a fucking prison. Fuck him. Gladly.
Oh, yeah, that was the defense. Right. I mean, if I were representing Betty Shelby, I would just walk in and be like, Your Honor, I mean, he was a black guy. I mean, come on. I mean, between you and I, can we just wrap this up? The dude was black, all right? She's innocent. Now, can we go play some golf or what?
Okay, so that's the justice he got in Oklahoma, so she's free to go. She now works with another police department. I'll get back to that in a sec. Okay, free to go. She. In Oklahoma, so she's free to go. In Oklahoma, so she's free to go. She now works with another police department. I'll get back to that in a sec. Okay. Then the feds take up the case and then decide insufficient evidence to find that what she did was objectively unreasonable. Then I don't know what it means to be objectively unreasonable then.
Yeah, right. I mean, our laws don't apply to blacks. I mean, come on. Now, I guess cops have never been let off after shooting a white person. I guess that's never happened. Can we get one of our crack interns on that? Hey, 20-year-old bitch scrub, once you're done getting me a bagel and a coffee, go research if a white victim of a police shooting has ever died where the cop got let off. And should we base our commentary and our analysis of this on the details of the case or just the races involved? Which is funner? Yeah, because you are objectively unreasonable. So it's kind of fitting. You have Dunning-Kruger when it comes to reason. Oh, JR, I'll tell you what a bad dude looks like. A guy parked in the middle of a highway wandering around and not complying with police orders. A guy who looks like he's on drugs. That's what that means.
Again, it's based solely on what your perceptions of the situation. So other people that were commentating on it as the video was going, I think you also, as you mentioned, the helicopter video, there was people I couldn't identify exactly who, but I saw other ones where they said, it looks like a bad dude right there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
What does a bad dude look like?
Oh, JR, I'll tell you what a bad dude looks like. A guy parked in the middle of a highway wandering around and... Yeah, I remember this analysis of Genk. This is from 2 years ago. It's so wonderful just to swing back and see what a asinine fuckface he is. His car stalled. It's funny, Genk, because his car was running. It's weird that you would say it stalled when it was running. And by the way, if your car stalls, why would you veer it to the right in the middle of the street? You have a 2-lane highway. If you feel that your car has stalled, you still have momentum. Wouldn't you think he would bring it over to the shoulder? No, you think he's just try to park it right in the middle. Yeah, because the shit always happens. Your car stalls, but it's running.
People wonder why the phrase is
Tell us, Gank.
America. Why the phrase is Black Lives Matter. So look, there's
Come on now.
there's 1,000 stories of the police taking people into custody without shooting. Why the phrase is Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. So look, there's 1,000 stories of the police taking people into custody without shooting them. There's a guy who shot up the church in Charleston, killed 9 people in a church. They in Charleston killed 9 people in a church. In Charleston killed 9 people in a church. They took him into custody and they got him Burger King afterwards. There's a terrorist. They took him into custody and they got him Burger King afterwards. There's a terrorist. They took him into custody and they got him Burger King afterwards. There's a terrorist in New York and New Jersey. They just caught him. Look, I don't want the guy in the Charleston shooting to get shot on sight. I don't want the terrorist to get shot, even though he's a terrorist and he did the bombings right next to my family and friends. I want us to be America.
I'd work today, be an American, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land.
Friends, I want us to be America. And I want us. Friends, I want us to be America. And I want us to be better than the terrorists, better than the mass shooters. All those guys, okay, hey, we found a way to take them alive. But when it comes to an innocent, unarmed black man in the middle of Tulsa, Oklahoma, we just can't find a way to cuff him. Cuff him, even though he did nothing wrong. Boom, 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 we're going to shoot him and we're going to kill him. Even though he did nothing wrong. Boom, boom, boom. Even though he did nothing wrong. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to shoot him and we're going to kill him. So you're going to see the video for yourselves right now. It's Terrance Crutcher. He's 40 years old. And he is a father, he sings at his local church. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be proven innocent. He didn't do anything wrong. His car stalled. He didn't do anything wrong. His car stalled in the middle of the highway. Has your car ever stalled in the middle of the highway? It happened to me once.
Yeah, I remember this analysis of Genk. This is from 2 years ago. It's so wonderful just to swing back and see what a asinine fuckface he is. His car stalled. It's funny, Gank, because his car was running. It's weird that you would say it stalled when it was running. And by the way, if your car stalls, why would you veer it to the right in the middle of the street? You have a 2-lane highway. If you feel that your car is stalled, you still have momentum. Wouldn't you think he would bring it over to the shoulder? No, you think he's just try to. No, you think he's just try to park it right in the middle. Yeah. Because the shit always happens. Your car stalls, but it's running and you parked it in the middle of a 2-lane highway. Gank!
But I didn't get shot. You probably didn't get shot. But he's a black man in America, so he's going to get a different scenario.
Yeah, the only reason you haven't been shot is because you're not black. It's logic. Logic's sound.
Oh, look at the race vulture. What a son of a bitch.
So let's look. If you can stomach it, I'm going to show you the videos. He's going to get shot here, and yes, he dies. So I'm giving you that as a warning. Let's look at the first video.
I'm gonna hit the recorder.
Let's look at the first video.
I'm gonna hit the recorder. This guy's still walking and following commands.
Time for a taser, I think.
That's got a feeling that's about to happen.
That looks like a bad dude, too, to be honest with you.
Police 1, they're facing westbound. He may have just been tasered. Shots fired! Ooh, 321, we have shots fired. We have one suspect down. We need him to here.
They need to get this eastbound closed down if they could, because they're not going to be able to let anybody.
Okay.
That looks like a bad dude. Really? To me, it looks like a guy stuck in the middle of the road with his hands up in the air. But
hands up in the air. But they see with his hands up in the air. But they see a black man in America, and that dude looks dangerous. He's probably on something. Why? Dangerous. He's probably on something. Why? He's a 40-year-old guy. He's got kids at home.
Again, he was on everything. The guy was loaded up on PCP. And why is he dangerous? Because he's refusing to obey police orders. Namely, keep your hands up and stop and get on your knees. Very simple.
Why is he dangerous?
Because he's ignoring police commands and reaching for shit in his car.
Why is he dangerous? Is he dangerous?
Because he's ignoring police commands and reaching for shit in his car.
Why is he dangerous?
Because he's ignoring police commands and reaching for shit.
Is he dangerous?
Because he's ignoring police commands and reaching for shit in his car.
Why is he dangerous?
Because he's ignoring police commands and reaching for shit in his car.
Okay, you're going to tell me that if that's a blonde woman in the middle of the street with a stalled car, they're going to shoot her when she's got her hands up. You really believe that? There's not a single person in the country that actually believes that. That.
Hey, blacks, are you enraged?
Use that.
Hey, blacks, are you enraged yet? Hey, blacks, are you enraged yet? Are in danger of dying, no matter what color they are. So saith I, Mr. Devon Tracy, I leave you now, but I shall return. Fear not. Now get on your knees.
I want to be a man. Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop. Of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
Yo, I ain't and that's what's bothering me. Yo, I ain't. Reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. The top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Yo, I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. Jump on top of my dick and work them hips until I bust a shot. It doesn't. The top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Yo, I ain't a. The top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Yo, I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. Jump on top of my dick and work them hips until I bust a shot. It doesn't. I'm not a player, I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Hey yo, I'm still not a player, but you still a hater. Elevator to the top, high. See you later, I'm gone. Penthouse suite, penthouse freaks, in-house beach, French couch seats, 10,000 piece, rent out lease. With an option, my with 6 rulers, hold up, $1 with a sword like DA. I love from point of view can, I'm professional, don't stop. With 6 rulers, hold up, chula. I'm all about getting loot, but I knock that boo if you out to get cool. I don't wanna be playing no more. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Punisher, still got what you're looking for. Uptown, baby, uptown. I don't wanna be playing no more. I'm not a player, I just crush a lot. Still down below. I love from point of view can, the black brand, but last I don't discriminate. I regulate every shade of that. Long as you show class and pass my test. Fat, highly intelligent. What's bothering me? Yo, I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. Jump on top of my dick and work them hips until I bust a shot. It doesn't stop, I'm only beginning. I'm boning your women while you home all alone. I'm going up in them, sending them back to you mad at you. Don't catch them up a fucking attitude, I'm just showing you how this rapper do. Capital punishment when I'm up in there, sucking it, busting it out. Nice blouse, let me unbutton it. You're fucking with King Papi Chulo and Naki Culo. Pop your mulos out the socket, trying to rock with the sumo. You know my rise is high, word I be drilling them. Bitches be trying to ride, but the curve be killing them. Filling them with the gas, my cheese premium on. Let it come, get it. First with the tongue, then let the pun hit it. Split it in half, watch the gas. Baby, take a bath, be good. I might put away the wood and give you the mustache. I'm the king of the swingers, ooh. I ain't a player. Away the wood and give you the mustache. Wouldn't give you the mustache. I'm the king of. Wouldn't give you the mustache. I'm the king of the swingers. Ooh. I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. I'm the. swingers, oh. I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. Way the wood and give you the mustache. I'm the king of the swingers, oh. I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. I'm the king of the swingers. Fuck a lot. I'm the king of the swingers, oh. I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. I'm the king of the swingers, oh. I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. I'm the king of the swingers, oh. I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. Yo, I bang a stranger in my torture chamber. Swingers, oh. I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. Yo.
Truly believes that. Truly believes that.
Hey, blacks, are you enraged yet? Hey, Genk has invented a mythical blonde woman who wasn't on PCP, didn't park her car in the middle of a highway, wasn't refusing to and didn't reach for something in the back of her car, but just imagine it. Imagine if that did happen. I'm sure this Betty Shelby lady would just give her a chest bump, just tit to tit, and be like, hey, you seem to be goofing off and not responding to my commands, but you pose no threat, so no big.
Guy's asking me about Tinder. He's swiping, but he gets no response. Well, your pictures probably don't inspire them to be attracted to you. Or you're creepy and cringy in your bio and what you're writing. But it probably comes down to your pictures. So you have to up your game and maximize your looks. Usually that comes down to the body because your face is pretty much your face. Although you can, put your best foot forward. But you have to not take no for an answer unless it is actual a no. When I say not take no, I mean you have to keep trying. And maybe Tinder's not the best way. Maybe you have to charm them in person.
But you pose no threat, so no big deal. And hey, blacks, also, while we're at it, you're aware that blonde women and black men, they pose a different threat, just inherently. You're aware of that, right? Do you want to go over numbers? I mean, you personally are fully aware of that, right? But yeah, let's just watch and cringe. But I shall return. Fear not. Now get on your knees. But I shall return. Fear not. Now get on your knees. Get on your knees.
Now I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
Yo, I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot. Jump on top of my dick and work them hips until I bust a shot. It doesn't stop, I'm only beginning. I'm boning your women while you home all alone. I'm going up in them, sending them back to you mad at you. Don't catch them up a fucking attitude, I'm just showing you how this rapper do. Capital punishment when I'm up in it, sucking it, busting it out. Nice blouse, let me unbutton it. You're fucking with King Bobby Chulo and Naki Culo. Pop your mulos out the socket, trying to rock with the sumo. You know my rise is high, word I be drilling them. Bitches be trying to ride, but the curve be killing them. Filling them with the gas, my cheese premium on. Let it come, get it. First with the tongue, then let the pun hit it. Split it in half, watch the gas. Baby, take a bath, be good. I might put away the wood and give you the mustache.
I'm the king of the swingers, oh.
I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot.
I'm the king of the swingers, oh.
I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot.
I'm the king of the swingers, oh.
I ain't a player, I just fuck a lot.
I'm the king of the swingers, oh.
I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. Yo.
The guys at the store purchasing it, like, and then leaving, and the facial recognition. Like when things started coming in, that's when I started to question things. And I got to a place a little further along where I was stuck between the Chicago Police Department, who the fuck should believe them, versus this thing that I've noticed is happening where people are leveraging victimization for fame. And I think that because of the way that my brain works, I have a hard time processing this without looking at both sides of the coin. And I think that we've seen it enough times where we've seen people put themselves in a position to leverage media attention or leverage, just victimization for whatever. Maybe they're gonna get a couple of bucks, maybe they're going to get notoriety. It could be any of those things. And I think that what has birthed from this conversation, if in fact Jesse is not telling the truth, is that why are we at a point now? Because people lie every day. Jesse's just in the spotlight. So this is what it looks like. But if you take that outside of the spotlight and put it into our regular lives, we lie about less. We lie about more. So a part of this is like, well, from a social perspective, how do we now move forward with believing whether people are going to tell them the truth or not, especially when they go to the internet to tell their story?
Go ahead, Jeff.
So, excuse me. Initially, I thought, damn, why would somebody attack Jussie Smollett for whatever? Like, knowing who he is and as a black gay man, I'm like, damn, he doesn't hurt anybody. He doesn't do anything. Why would he hurt? So why would you do that? So initially, when I heard that, I believe, because you should believe off the top. But then as more things came out, I just thought, yo, Jussie, why are you lying? You have accumulated so much integrity capital with multiple communities. If it was because of possibly getting cut off of Empire, Empire's on its way out anyway. I'm sure you're gonna be working at some point, whether in music, that's crazy. Whether in music, whether in music, whether in acting or whatever. Like Marvel's even looking for a male openly gay lead for one of their next movies. Not saying he would get it, but there's multiple opportunities for you post that. So I'm just thinking, why would you lie? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And to Doug's point, I do think if we go from a trust but verify perspective, where initially if you tell me something, I'm gonna believe, but I am going to listen to all the other evidence before to formulate a holistic opinion, I don't think people should be attacked for it.
I agree. Go ahead, Aisha.
Two comments, both coming from like a news background. One, we saw how the Chicago Police Department treated this case vastly different than other cases, but that happens in newsrooms all over the country. If a little girl goes up missing or a little boy goes up missing, the one thing you want to do is keep the media attention on it because that pressures police to solve the case. So attention is power in that regard. But I think we also saw like the de-evolution of news media in this case, really. This is the point at which I was like, oh wow, television news is really trash. Like, I think we see, there was always this like fine line between social media and citizen journalism where it was like the ethics and the boundaries are very loose. The facts, you could guess a little bit, but journalists, if you worked in a television newsroom or a print newsroom, you have really had to have standards and you had to have your facts right or you could not report them. I think this is the case where I really saw like, oh, facts don't matter that much. We're really out here like sensationalizing and calling it news. I mean, and so fake news, if you will. And I'll also say the last thing is we made a really big deal about him lying and this racial hoax, but the vast number of racial hoax stories in America have been white people creating false stories about black people, and they've had far greater repercussions. The coincident Emmett Till, who's actually, was from Chicago, being one of the major ones, the Scottsboro case, most often it's not somebody like a Jussie Smollett, it's somebody saying that, a black man raped somebody and it didn't happen. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, Juice.
I want to say that I think when it first happened, I didn't really care that it was him because I didn't care about that.
I didn't have
My
it.
whole problem was the effects that it was going to have on the community as far as, one, somebody being victimized, finally people seeing that this happens, like we do get attacked in the streets, we do get harassed in the streets as black people, and as when you add the gay element to it, it really takes it to a whole new level of harassment. So that was my problem. So then when all these stories started coming out and it started coming left and right that he might be lying, then I'm like, come on, Jesse, why would you? Because now these people are gonna they're already hesitant to come forward because they feel like there's always this air of disbelief that comes with black gay men. So it's harder to come forward about this stuff because you feel like people are like, looking at you like, hey, you got beat up. So I feel like that was gonna make it worse. Also, it's funny to me that this culture, we become like, everybody, I don't know about nobody here, but I didn't go to detective training school. I did none of that. So it's funny to me how people are like, I pieced together the pieces and I figured out, how did you do that? Where did you use that at? And then we're so quick to be like, gotcha, caught you lying, that we don't know what's going on. Like, we know nothing besides what Chicago PD is telling us what's going on. So that to me was really funny.
Thank you. Go ahead, Wilson.
So to me, there was a few things about this whole situation that was interesting. So I believe Jesse, right? Because King David Seals is an activist for Ferguson who got burnt alive in his own car and apparently it was suicide. If you look at what happens to random black bodies in America, you don't need to scratch too far below the surface for really strange stories to happen. There was a story in North Carolina of a young boy who apparently hung himself, but didn't have his shoes after he hung himself.
So
That was my first point. So I believe Jesse. The aftermath and
so what? All right, I'll play one game. You twisted my wrist. I'm at 1990. I'm taking on a 2015 dude, and I've already beaten him once in the past. But he's gonna come with that pressure. Queen to here. Okay. Here it goes. I'm taking. All right, we're off script here. This pawn is vulnerable. You see it. Don't act like you didn't see it. All right, I bring this dude out. Now he's on book here. If I go here, I'm developing my pieces. He's running around like a crazy. He's a crazy guy. I'll bring this out. Pawn is still protected by nobody, but it's not attacked. Let's put more pressure on the queen. She's probably going to attack there. I'm like, oh. Okay, so I'm up on development big time now. I got to capitalize on it. Because I'm the king of the swingers. Now that is pressure. You can't go there, you can't go there. Now that's going to be a lifelong hellhole if I go there. Alright, I'm going here, and we're not castling apparently, and he's pushed. Oh, Jesus. Alright, we gotta back this dude out ASAP. Okay. I gotta back this dude out. This guy's under pressure. But I'm worried about this. I guess this would be a solution? If he goes there, I take. But then he still has this. Because he's got a double attack. Alright, I'm backing up out of here. Fuck this. Now, where's he castling? Neither way? I could see him doing neither. Now, what if I just bum rush him in here? Uptight. I like that. We don't have to take our clothes off. Na 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 na. To have a good time. Now he's gonna panic and take there. Now I could put my king. Ooh. Oh, he wants me to. Oh, you wish. I push. Now that pawn is gonna be a nightmare for him. We can dance and party. He wanted me to take, so he would take, so he would be attacking my queen. But instead I pushed. He cannot take because I take back. If he takes here, I take here. Next move is mate. He's Fucksville. If he goes there, what? How does he block mate here? Here? I'm taking. It's over. It's over. Brosif. And I've been pushed over the 2,000 mark. It's a beautiful thing. And you see what happens, right? You saw it. You saw what happened. So here's the difference. So from right here, I push. He ignored that threat. And look, that's my chance of winning. He ignored that threat, and then, oh, it wanted me to take there. Oh, wow. Wow. So it wanted me, so this is a forced take. Okay, I mean, he typically would take back, and then it wants this, that, and then there, and you're jamming him up. He can't stop that. He could go here, but then I'm taking that, and that's just evasive. He wants me to give up his queen. Okay, yeah, it's a fuck fest. Anyway,